The Greeks were busy trying to decide what to do when Xerxes sent a scout on horseback to see how many men he was up against and what they were doing. While still in Thessaly, he had received a report that a small force, led by the Lacedaemonians and the Heraclid Leonidas, had assembled at the pass. So the scout approached the Greeks' camp and kept them under close surveillance, but he could not see the whole force, because some of them were out of sight behind the now repaired wall, where they had taken up defensive positions. Others, however, and it happened at this time to be the Lacedaemonians, were posted outside, where their arms and armor lay in front of the wall, and he was able to take stock of them. He watched them in a variety of occupations, such as exercising naked and combing their hair. This surprised him, but he took careful note of their numbers and then made his way back to Xerxes without meeting any opposition. No one set out after him, and in fact he met with total indifference. When he got back, he gave Xerxes a thorough report on what he had seen. Xerxes listened to what the scout had to say, but he could not understand that in actual fact the Greeks were getting themselves ready to kill or be killed to the best of their ability. Their behavior struck him as laughable. He sent for Demaratus, the son of Ariston, who had accompanied the expedition, and asked him about everything in the scout's report, item by item, in an attempt to understand what was going on with the Lacedaemonians. "I told you about these men before," Demaratus said, "when we were setting out for Greece. You laughed at me then and found my ideas about what would happen in this war absurd, just because I take pride in nothing so much as in trying to be honest to you, my lord. But listen to me now. These men have come to fight us for the pass, and they are getting ready to do just that. It is their custom to do their hair when they are about to risk their lives. But you can rest assured that if you defeat these men and the force that awaits you in Sparta, there is no other race on earth which will take up arms and stand against you, my lord, because you are now up against the noblest and most royal city in Greece and the bravest men." Xerxes found what he was saying completely unbelievable and asked him how such a small body of men was going to resist his army. "My lord," Demaratus replied, "if things do not turn out as I say, you can treat me as you would any other liar." Xerxes still did not believe him. He let 4 days go by because he expected the Greeks to run away at any moment. But they did no such thing. What seemed to him to be their stupid impudence in staying stung him to anger, and on the 5th day he sent his Median and Sicyan troops against them, with orders to bring some prisoners back alive to him. The Medes rushed the Greek position and died in large numbers, but more men pressed forward, and despite the heavy losses, the attack was not driven back. They made it plain to everyone, however, and above all to the king himself, that although he had plenty of troops, he did not have many men, and so the battle continued all day. After a while, the Median troops were withdrawn, badly mauled, and their position was taken by the Immortals, as Xerxes called them, the Persian battalion commanded by Hydarnes. It was expected that they would easily finish the job, but when they came to engage the Greeks, they were no more successful than the Medes had been. The result was no different, because the factors were the same. They were fighting in a restricted area, using spears which were shorter than those wielded by the Greeks, and could not take advantage of their numerical superiority. The Lacedaemonians fought a memorable battle. They made it quite clear that they were the experts, and that they were fighting against amateurs. This was particularly evident each time they turned tail and pretended to run away en masse. The Persians raised a great cry of triumph at the sight of the retreat and pressed forward after them, but the Lacedaemonians let them catch up and then suddenly turned and faced them, and cut the Persians down in untold numbers. However, a few Spartiates would be lost as well during this maneuver. Once their attempt on the pass had proved a complete failure and they had not gained the slightest foothold in it, whether they sent in regiment after regiment or whatever tactics they used for their attack, the Persians withdrew. During this phase of the battle, as he watched his men attacking the Greek positions, it is said that fear for his army made the king leap up from his seat 3 times. The next day, after the first day of fighting had passed as described, the conflict went no better for the Persians. They went into battle in the expectation that the Greeks would no longer be capable of fighting back, given that there were so few of them and that they had already taken on so many casualties. But the Greeks formed themselves into units based on nationality, which took turns to fight, except for the Phocians, who were posted on the heights above to guard the path. On finding that things had not changed from their experiences of the previous day, the Persians pulled back. Xerxes did not know how to cope with the situation. But then a Malian called Ephialtes, the son of Eurydamas, arranged a meeting with him, with information for which he hoped the king would pay him handsomely. Ephialtes told him about the mountain path to Thermopylae, and so caused the deaths of the Greeks who had taken their stand there. Later he went into exile in Thessaly because he became afraid of reprisals from the Lacedaemonians, and while he was there, the Amphictyons met at Pylia, and the Pylogia had him proclaimed a wanted criminal with a price on his head. Later still, he was killed by a man from Trachis called Athenides, and at some point he had returned from Thessaly and was living in Anticyra. And although Athenides' reasons for killing him, which I will explain later, had nothing to do with the Battle of Thermopylae, the Lacedaemonians still honored him for it. In any case, Ephialtes did die later.